Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Say Report. This is Sejohn Surwick, your host, and sitting beside me is my co-host, Devin Decker.
Again with the co-host thing. He knows. It's like he's doing it on purpose. I also like that I'm sitting next to you.
Oh,
You
always.
really paint a picture with your words, buddy.
Yeah, well, if they could see the setup that we have, it's this phenomenal recording studio
Oh,
in which you are just mere feet from me.
and it's beautiful, and it's got gilded lights and the finest tile work on the
But the
floor.
lights aren't too bright, though. We're very keen on the idea of the lights being dim. You know, we need the right feel for this.
Yeah, right. A little bit of Buffalo Bill's torture chamber meets NPR. That's the Say Report. Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
Was that your
Now
impression
a
of Ira
word from our
Glass?
sponsors. Shit, man, this took a turn, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to get into our topics for
So
this
hell,
today.
yeah, no, it's oof. Like I want to talk about the Oscars, but before we talk about the Oscars, R.I.P. Bill Paxton
Okay,
is
all right.
is where I think we should start.
Yeah, we definitely need to, because we feel partly responsible.
Like I mean it's talk about how conceited this generation is, that like because we talked about him at length just a few episodes ago, the idea did cross my mind that like was like, oh, was he off of God's radar? And then like, oh, Devin talking about Bill Paxton, wait a minute.
So to wrap up that little analogy that you just did, we're the reason Bill Paxton's dead, and God listens to the Say Report.
Yeah, right, that's God approved, the Say Report. No, but to be completely honest, when I heard the news, you were the first person I tried to contact,
Yeah,
just because of we were lauding him with praise about how
yeah.
like what he has
And
done.
this was and this was another one that I just couldn't believe when I heard it. You know, like I think Heath Ledger's a good example of that. Like I was like in a movie theater and somebody was like, "Did you hear Heath Ledger died?" And I was like, "You're full of shit." And then found out they were not. And the same thing happened at like 2 o'clock last night. I'm like on Reddit, and then there's the the tag Bill Paxton dead at 61, I think. And I was just like, no. And it took until this morning for me to really believe that it was actually happening. Yeah.
it didn't hit me until I realized that he played Chet in Weird Science.
Oh man,
Like
that's a
that was when it became real for me. Like I was like thinking through his roles, and then I'm like, oh my god, like
yeah, right. Like
that.
that's how long that dude has been entertaining us, right?
And
Right.
also like just how versatile he is as an
Well,
actor.
exactly.
Like,
From that to Twister, I mean, Alien 3 is in there, or is that 2 for him?
uh, oh, I don't remember which one he's in.
I
I
believe
think
it's
he's in
Aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah, which is Aliens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, like the guy was all over the place, and then like seeing him on TV, I
What is
fucking
going to
loved
happen
it
with
on
Training
Shield.
Day?
I mean,
What is
Training
going
Days,
to happen with
Training
Training
Days
Day?
just screwed. It hasn't been around long enough to like garner an audience to like save it. You know, this isn't an 8 simple rules situation.
Way to bring up 8 simple rules, because that's the exact thing I questioned. I'm
Right.
like, how many episodes do they have in the can? Like, do you think they shot the full first season, or do you think they were like cutting it kind of close to it because of where they were?
Yeah. I don't think that they shot much more than what you've seen already. I mean, this is about the time when they would have figured out whether or not it was going to be around for a while, right? Because as in Training, didn't it only just premiere?
Yeah, it premiered. The 6th episode will be airing this Thursday. They haven't stopped that, or it might be the 5th. My dad screws with that. Like I see him on the guides and like tapings of shows, and I saw
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's the 6th, and I didn't know if that was. And then I realized that like he also had Survivor, which isn't until the 7th of March that's airing. So
There's a possibility that they shot the entire season only because this is such a late game addition to the
right,
season.
because like it's something that may have existed, and then CBS is like, all right, well we have this, and we'll do it in the spring if something's not working, or
Yeah, or they know early on we're taking a risk with this, so you only get 13 episodes, which means that we're not going to start you till after the winter, and then like see where you go. So if they filmed it all with that knowledge, maybe we've got at least one season. I don't know, man. And it's a good question because shit like this happens like when Paul Walker died a few years ago, and there's this moment where everybody goes, "Oh, we can't think about their work right now. Like they were more than their movies," and I get that. But also, what happened with the Paul Walker stuff was his family came right out and were just like, "No, like these movies need to keep getting made." He would not
it's what
stand.
he would want,
It's
and
what
I
he would
understand
want.
that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's and all these people like coming out. Like the one that really hit me was Clark Gregg. tweeted about working with Paxton and just
I
what
thought you
it
were about to
meant
tell
to
me that
him.
Clark Gregg died, and I was gonna
No,
piss
Clark.
myself.
No, I'm no. Clark Gregg is fine as far as I know.
That man dies, I am gonna have to go on a pilgrimage somewhere or something in honor of
You
that
should
man.
probably visit Tahiti when he
Oh,
passes away.
nice.
Right? Sorry. Wow,
Oh,
that feels like
and then
like
Bill Paxton. It brings us back to Bill Paxton and his amazing run on Shield. All right,
exactly,
sorry, keep
which she
going.
was really good on Shield. But that was the one where like just watching Clark Gregg talk about it, and I'm like, I can't imagine that it was beyond their work on Shield together. Like I haven't looked at both of their filmographies. Maybe they were working together for a while, but like
No, but you know what it was? Was Bill Paxton was kind of the thing that happened that season that proved that show was attracting like good talent. You know what I mean?
yes, that's very
Because
true.
like they have a really good core cast of television actors, but when Bill Paxton shows up in not just one episode, but ends up being like a main plot point and is around for 6 or 7 episodes, I mean, like that show got some legs.
That's what you're right because a
That's
lot of
bit
people
a pun, considering what happened to him, but
Urful, but and also when you consider like everybody says that Agents of Shield picked up after the events of Winter Soldier.
which
Everybody
is
says
exactly
that
when
movie,
yeah.
but that's also when they had a for real like movie star join the show.
Yeah.
So it hurts.
No, I mean,
it's
he-
weird, and
he
you
made
think
that
about it,
season.
and you think about all the things that he did, and R.I.P. Bill Paxton from from your friends over at the Stay Report. We hope that you're doing what you enjoy doing, if there is an afterlife. That's what I'm gonna say. I don't want to get too religioso on it.
All right, man. No, that's some kind words from the Say Report. Ta-da! All right.
Which now leads me
But-
to some not so kind words. You son of a bitch! Right? That's too that you won the fucking Oscar pool by
I did.
1 point, right? Because the fact that I said that 5 should win over your 3 that should win doesn't really matter. What matters is the ones that we actually put our fucking name next to.
Yeah.
And you with your fucking really Hacksaw Ridge is what elevated you.
Yeah,
Like
weird, right? Because we were convinced it wasn't actually going to get the.
I
the
thought it was
recognition
just
for-
going to be enough that Hacksaw Ridge got nominated, and that's going to be like, we're opening the door a little bit for you, but we don't want to invite you in yet, Mel. But the
Yeah.
Academy putting it aside and giving it 2 awards last night really says something about where they're willing to go with Mel Gibson. Am I
Yeah.
wrong? Am I wrong
No,
to say that?
You remember that he was not the one that won those awards, right? Like we should acknowledge that. Like they're acknowledging that more than perhaps what it is they're acknowledging that more than one artist works on movies, right? Like we always want to associate projects with like the director or the main actor, but like that's not the case, right? There's always a billion people working.
I mean,
on
you
these
say
things.
that, but the guy who won for editing, the first thing he did was he thanked the person who
Well-
introduced him to Mel Gibson.
Right. He got up there and did that, yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the Academy giving the award to the movies,
Right, they're not. That doesn't.
I'm
You're right.
hesitant to say that they're ready to bring Mel Gibson back with open arms. So that's all.
You know what? It was so weird just to see Mel Gibson at the Academy Awards again, though, in a seat
Yeah.
of prominence.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and it was. but I am happy that it won the awards, and it won the awards that we said that it should win, but there's a chance that it's not going to just because of what was surrounding it.
Yeah.
Can I'm gonna do something, and I don't love to feed the trolls, but I think that because I'm not gonna name anybody, I'm gonna be okay here.
Yeah, do it up.
I mean, I tweeted during the awards. I had a good time. I had my best picture menu for the evening, and I was having fun with it. And of course, if you're doing that, then you're going to see other people's tweets and comments. And there were some people who were so against Hacksaw Ridge just because of Mel Gibson. So it means that our fears and our beliefs were not completely unfounded, right? So I
Right.
take that as a bit of a cap in my feather in the cap, right? But then I tweeted after it won its second award, good on the Academy for being able to kind of look the other way on this thing. Not considering what you said, that, it's also a statement that, just because Mel Gibson did work on it doesn't mean we're going to, punish the other people who did exceptional work on this film.
Right.
Because discounting that, but like the fact that because it's something that jumps in the conversation. I don't know where you stand with Mel Gibson. I know that I understand. It's not completely forgiven, but he was young. I did stupid shit when I was younger. Like you can't continue. I don't know.
I pretty much have landed in that place where like I don't begrudge the guy like making art and doing all that stuff, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to like see a Mel Gibson project. You know, like the Beaver might be the closest that came to something that I legitimately considered actually like paying a ticket for myself to go and see. You know, recommended it up and down to people because I heard that it was good and like had that conversation with them of like I understand this and I understand that, but you should check it out. But like I never like had it in me to go see it myself because I just wasn't at that point then. Now, like to be entirely honest, I completely forgotten that he was like responsible even for Hacksaw Ridge. So like that might color my acceptance of that movie a little bit because I was so into that movie and that idea, all of that before I realized it was a Mel Gibson project. So like I seem to be backing away from my from my standpoint of like no more Mel Gibson stuff. But I'm not ready
And
to
I will
to do that yet.
I
You
will
know?
recommend Up and Down Bloodfather because I feel like a lot of it he tried to address things head on
Yeah.
with that film.
Mm.
Again, I don't know. It's a thing, but so I put out there that like good on them for being able to look past it and honor the art. And someone commented that I would never see it. It's religious stuff and thinly veiled propaganda, blah 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 blah. Right? But the thing about that really hit me was the fact that while they were slinging such hate towards this film, they were also proudly saying, "I have never seen it," and I there are things that I do not like. I do not like Star Trek the motion picture. I think it's garbage. I think that movie is long. It's too long. It's unfocused. It's an awful film. But you know why I think that? Because I sat through it. I sat through Star Trek the motion picture, so I have earned the right to have an opinion. And it was hard for me to accept the opinion of someone who was proud that they hadn't seen this movie, but here's my opinion on it.
Yeah, man. I mean, welcome to pop culture in,
Right?
in
Like, I'm
the
sorry.
2010s,
Oh my God.
man. Like,
Do you know the things that I have exposed myself to just so I can then say, and here's my opinion on it? I don't want to watch American Idol, but I want to be able to have the conversation and not have someone say to me, yeah, but what the fuck do you know? You're not watching. I'm sorry. This got a little derailed, but it's
well,
just
but like the thing that you're talking about is the problem with the internet writ large, right? Is like the internet let everybody know that it's okay to have an opinion on everything, right? But what it never did was said informed opinion. Like at no point did we ever promise that.
right.
Right?
It's just everybody has an opinion. Yes, everybody has an opinion. I understand that. You can use whatever metaphor you want to show that, but it just and then like I'm like, oh, please don't comment on my stuff if you're going to be happy of your ignorance.
Oh yeah, man. But
Like,
then you're just dealing with a troll, like
right,
you said,
exactly,
man.
and that's what I said, and that's why I didn't comment. I'm like, I'm not going to engage this person. There are things I want to say. I want to say that like that kind of proves the point, because like, but this person kept showing up, and they're like, oh, that editing guy, could he have been any more of a douche? And I'm like, did you watched, right? You watched the Oscars. Did that guy come off as a jerk to you, CJ?
Also, I'm gonna say no because they were on stage for 20 seconds.
Yeah, no, they. Let's all.
And the guy had just won an award, so I guess everybody up that gets up sounds kind of dickish because they're getting up there to just be like, "Look at how amazing I am." But that's kind of the nature of watching somebody win an award.
Right, exactly. Like you're basically giving them an open forum to self-fillet themselves.
Just for
And
30 seconds.
Yeah,
Just a tip.
You're not gonna get the climax, but you're gonna get to show us what you can do and how you treat yourself. Oh God,
Unless you're
I
Frank
gave
Sinatra
myself a
and you
real.
just keep talking. Sorry.
Frank Sinatra's not the only one who just kept talking. But we're gonna get to that. But it's just something that like. But then I watched it again, and I'm like, you know what? I have watched many Academy Award acceptance speeches. I have watched many Academy Award acceptance speeches. That wouldn't even register to me as someone being a jerk. Now I know
Right.
it wasn't the Academy Awards, but come on, George Clooney taking having Hollywood take credit for segregation and all of that, like
Right.
that was kind of a dick move. That guy being like, thank you for introducing me to Mel. Thank you to all of these people in my life. I'm like, that was an acceptance speech. That guy wasn't a jerk. I watched it again. It's just, I mean, and I feel
It's
like
probably because the guy mentioned Mel Gibson, and I'm sure that when he said it with a purpose, like with a reason for saying it,
yeah,
right?
like
And
as a
so,
reminder that like yeah, you're honoring me, but you know he's part of the reason why I can't be honored.
right.
I
So like, I'm sure that that's what rubbed that dude the wrong way. But like, don't feed the trolls, man.
I know, and
Just don't do it.
I didn't feed the trolls. And again, the Say report has affirmed do not feed the trolls policy. But I mean, I hope that me bringing it up and saying that, like, I just don't understand it. I'm very internet illiterate. I will admit that freely. The internet scares me because that's how my parents raised me. It was
Also, you're
very
100
like,
years old. That's, I mean, like, we can't forget that. Yeah, yeah. Like, you've been around for a long time, Devin.
yes, yes. But yeah, like it's so. But I was also raised that like everyone on the internet is trying to fuck you over. Like, be careful out there. And so, like, of course, I don't want to, like, engage people. It's very easy for me to read something on Facebook that infuriates me and then put my phone down or go to another website.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's not like that for other people. And I don't know
Yeah,
when
man.
this became
Free
a
yourselves.
PSA on Don't Feed Trolls, but, the Say report, I'm going to put it on paper right now. And by paper, I mean audio, digital audio. We do not support
That
that.
digital audio paper.
Hashtag Don't Feed the Trolls.
There it
That's
is.
the Say report endorsed. I'm just saying, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I was having such a good time last night, and then I saw that, and I'm like, how are you having fun if you're so angry, right? Like, we're shutting off our minds tonight. At least I was. I don't know.
Yeah. Look, man. The world is a
Yeah.
beautiful place with some very dark edges. That's all.
Speaking of dark edges, that was one of the best produced award shows I've seen in a long time. It was very tight, regardless of the fact that Viola Davis got way more time than I think she should have compared to the amount of time that other people was given. Is that me? Am I the only one who felt that?
I mean, uh, this is a hard one, man, because like she got more time than she probably should have in terms of fairness, quote unquote.
Right.
But in terms of like
No, I mean
she
she's
was
been
up
nominated
there,
twice, and I think and
yeah,
she earned it.
like,
But I think
and also in a night when we did not know yet what the fuck was about to happen at the end.
right. But let's save that. That's going to
looked
be
like, right. But consider in that moment that she's not talking to a group of people that we now know awarded Moonlight Best Picture, right? She's talking to a group of people that very likely will not be doing that at the end of the night,
Yes.
So that's also something to consider.
I get it.
Yes, so I don't know, man.
I think where it's 6 micro. Every local news show said that Viola Davis's win as supporting actress in Fences, still something I'm a little like supporting actress is odd. Still odd, and you can explain it to me a million times that Denzel Washington's Troy is the only lead in that, but she's right there the whole time. I mean, that's actually a central plot of it, is that she was standing right there with him. It's difficult for me to ring around. But every local news show in Rhode Island said that a win for Viola Davis was a win for Rhode Island.
Oh my God. Rhode Island.
And I'm
Take
like,
a breath for a second. First of all,
no?
you're probably one of the most problematically. Okay. People in Rhode Island have this really weird view that they are somehow like a liberal bastion of this country. But man, oh man, I have met more conservative, held back people in my time there than I ever have out here in Ohio.
Wow, that is saying something, ladies and gentlemen. Also, obligatory work in the fact that I'm in Rhode Island and you're in Ohio.
Yeah.
It was just good how we did that. But it was, and I'm just like, no, it's
Win
not.
for Rhode Island.
It's a win
Look at
for
how great
Viola
we are.
Davis. Viola Davis gave her friggin' all in that movie. She really did.
Yeah.
Like she.
Well, and I think that, and so consider this, like your whole like issue with the fact that she only got nominated for a supporting actress. I mean, like that's part of this problem that she, inevitably is trying to combat with these long speeches and stuff like that. So like,
Yeah,
that's
no,
where
it's all over it. It's 100 different things that are going through my mind regarding it.
Yeah.
But it becomes even harder for me to solve when the entire state is trying to take credit for her work.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't want to start calling out names, but no, there are people in that state that do not deserve an Academy Award from an African American woman. That's not.
And then they're like, speaking of people from this state who won awards, Damien Chazelle got Best Director, and I'm like, no, he's not from Rhode Island. What are you talking about?
Oh my god.
It was like just the
That dude pissed at a
propaganda.
rest stop in this town once. Yay!
Yeah, Rhode Island's favorite son, Damien Chazelle. Yeah, all of that sounds right. Those words together. That's
Oh
a
man.
sentence. But yes, up until the fumble at the 1 yard line, it was a very tightly produced show.
Yeah. Okay.
Now
Well,
we're time to talk about that. But what?
except there was actually a couple of bumps and bruises along the way. I will say, most notably, putting the picture up of the wrong woman during the in memoriam and putting up a picture of a woman that is still alive.
Yeah, that kind of stuff happens often, though. That is something that I feel like you hear about every few years. They just need to hire someone better to do that PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, I don't understand exactly what happened, but apparently a costume designer that did actually pass away this year was in the in memoriam, but then for some reason the picture they put with her name was of like a friend of hers that was very much alive and very offended.
That is, let's Google. Okay. We'll just go with the first one. I'm feeling lucky.
Yeah, right. Google Images says this is her. Let's use this.
Yeah. Like I 100% like that happens. Like people do that stuff
but that
all the
sort of
time.
Stuff happens all the time.
And it's
unfortunately.
But then there's one thing that happened that has never happened before, no matter how much my grandmother believes it has. That happened a couple of years ago, right? No, it didn't. No.
Oh, no. Is she thinking of the Miss America thing that happened a couple of months ago?
Maybe.
With like Steve Harvey? Maybe she's thinking like, didn't those Academy Awards that Steve Harvey was hosting a couple of months ago, isn't that?
Yeah, that was that could be it, right? Maybe I didn't give her enough credit, but she she wasn't happy when I was like, no, that's never happened at the Academy Awards before, because if it had, guess what? There would have been procedure. Like, that's the crazy thing about it. There's no that means that in
so
83
unexpected.
years.
So we should explain exactly what happened.
Should we? I feel like everybody knows, but take it away, Sejohn.
So we get to the end of the night, and Best Picture is about to be announced. In fact, it is announced, and it is La La Land. And everybody loses their shit, and Devin and I rejoice in our points in all of this.
Devin Decker checks out. I will.
Yeah.
As much as I was happy to get a check, but I'm like,
TVs off, and like this is it. This is the end of the night. This is the last thing everybody wanted to see. We've sat through 4 hours of everybody there masturbating, so let's go, right?
Yeah, right. La La Land. I saw that coming. I don't need to hear what they're gonna say.
And then suddenly, was it Jimmy Kimmel that came running out? I'm not even sure.
No, it was just like a dude in a headset.
Stone gets a look on her face like she is about to rip the head off of the next person that talks to her. Like there's a moment where they show her where she clearly suddenly realizes what's happening before anybody else, and I'm not sure how she does, but she is livid. And then Jimmy Kimmel runs on and is like, stop everything. And hilarity ensues. I don't know how to describe what happened next.
The moment that really worked for me is, I mean, we lost anyway, but like when he just said it, I'm like, yeah, right, this is what's happening. That dude just ran across this is not right. And Warren Beatty, I mean, I love Warren Beatty. Rules Don't Apply we can talk about Rules Don't Apply once you see it. But like clearly, like watching it again, he's like, this is wrong. This is wrong. And then the most gangster move ever. He hands it to Faye, and she announces it. So like everybody has given him the shit and compared him to Steve Harvey, but he read it and was like, "I'm not gonna do this. This is on her." That's why there's two of us up here.
Well, he's Warren fucking Beatty. He knows how this shit works. He's been to an Academy Awards or two.
Yeah.
So when he sees that thing and he's like, for some reason, the card in his hand says Emma Stone. La La Land, and he's like, well, that can't be right. Why would they put her name on it? Like, that is legitimately the thought in his head. He was the smartest man in the room at that moment.
Yes, he was. And and the Say Report gives you credit, Mr. Beatty, because I feel like everybody else is vilifying you. I mean, even Faye Dunaway vilified you. She said, oh, Warren, you're impossible. And then he's like, fine, you read it. You look like the idiot. But everybody's looking at him.
Yeah, he knew exactly what was about to happen.
Yep. And then the best part is when he goes up and he goes, I'd like to say I opened the envelope. It said Best Actress Emma Stone.
Oh, he made sure. Yeah, he was like, I want the world to know exactly what I will not go down in history as the fool tonight.
I am not the next Steve Harvey.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it turns out that he had somehow been handed, him and Faye Dunaway had been handed the Best Actress envelope again. And so it was not La La Land that won, but in fact Moonlight. Surprise!
It would have tied us if I had said it was going to win. If I trusted in that feeling I had in my heart after I saw it, that it should win all the awards, we'd be tied. And then it would go to the friggin' tiebreaker and I'd be the victor.
Follow your heart. But
heart of the
like
cards.
in the most like awkward 5 minutes ever, Moonlight then has to get on stage and accept this award.
And everybody from La La Land is still up there. Like, sure, they shuffled over to the side a little bit, but damn, it was the most eventful thing of the evening. And I loved it.
Man. It was crazy. It took what was a pretty much unremarkable night and turned it into one of the most memorable Oscars of all time.
Well, let's talk about whoever's hosting next year. There's your jokes. They're all written.
Yeah, there was also that moment where our girl there from Moana got whacked in the head, I guess, but I didn't actually see it. It was only in everybody
heard
pointing
about
it out later.
I haven't seen it.
I didn't actually see what happened, but apparently she got like whacked in the head, but she carried on just fine. She did real good. So like the music was really good last night. Other than that, like I said, the rest of the show was just kind of meh.
Can I tell you something though? Based upon the musical performances, I wanted Justin Timberlake to win bad for Trolls.
Oh yeah.
Because it was just like, it was such a reminder that like this song is a legitimate hit.
Mm-hmm. I know, man. It's getting to that point where I wonder how long it is until the Academy Award starts to go downhill. Because the music last night, I was just like, this is the best part. And then I instantly hated myself because I was just like, oh no, this is just because this is good pop music just playing and I'm watching Justin Timberlake on stage. This isn't what the Academy Award should be. What am I doing?
Let's talk about the fact that, like, it's not strange for the Academy Awards to open with a big musical number, but usually the host is involved. It's not one of the performances of Best Original Song.
Right.
And so that was very strange to me that they're like, oh, yeah, we're starting it with music tonight. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah,
and then,
smart move, though.
And then, you know what the smartest move was? The medley performed by John Legend of friggin' the two La La Land songs, because I stand firmly that his performance in that film is the best. We Can Start a Fire is my favorite song in that movie.
Here's the thing. We Can Start a Fire, and this might be one of the few things that I can say that I like I don't understand about La La Land. That song is so good, and that moment is so amazing that the idea that that's not what he wants to do with his life doesn't sit right with me.
Well, that's the thing, though, because it's not him who's saying that. It's her. It's her, because he's even having a good time. That's one of Ryan Gosling's best moments in the film, because he's playing on the keyboard and he's like having fun and he's living in it. Like, he's like, you know what? I had to take my dream of a jazz club and I had to put it on hold, but I'm still playing music. I'm still entertaining people. And then she comes down on him like, that's not what you want. And it's like, bitch, don't tell me what I want.
Yeah, if only we could have seen the photography scene before that whole moment and realized that, like, okay, he really loves the music part, but like doesn't like
but
the
he
rest
doesn't
of
like
it.
all the other trappings around it.
Right.
Or like if after the show, like when he's trying to get to her, he can't get to her because the bullshit is in the way.
Right.
Like, there are so many ways
so many things
that you can make that not just her being disapproving of how he's living out his dream,
but him also like not really doing what he wants, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, we shouldn't talk about La La Land again. We dedicated an entire half an episode
exactly.
to it.
But that's the thing, is that
I will say, here we are talking about La La Land again. So, you know, that movie just keeps coming back.
You know what? Here's the thing. I'm making a promise right now that next year, for my Oscar picks, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. I put all my eggs in the La La Land basket, despite all of the feelings in my guts that it was not actually going to win its awards. It ended up not winning all of the awards I said it was going to win, and now I'm sit here again, second fiddle to someone from East Providence.
Yeah, we raise them right. What do you want?
Yeah, you guys can pick them.
We can't do much, but we can bet on stuff.
We have no skills of our own. But when it comes to judging this and assessing the skills of others, we're townies. Townies strong.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about the Oscars before we smoothly transition into the next topic?
No, I like I said, the show was just kind of meh this year, and so like there were some highlight moments for sure, but I don't know, man. Like the Oscars are really starting to lose their steam with me, and I don't know if that's just I don't know what it is. Like I would much rather sit back and watch like an MTV Movie Awards than I would ever watch the Oscars nowadays. And like I think it's because when I go and watch this stuff now, I just want something stupid. I don't want this like really heavy-handed, glitzy, glamorous night, you know? I want Justin Timberlake to be performing at all of my award shows.
I think you just want Justin Timberlake to be performing. I think that's your goal in life.
Right, exactly.
No, I understand what you're saying. They were kind of dour, and you know Jimmy Kimmel, as much funny as it was him making fun of Matt Damon all night, and living the faux feud, that was kind of his only thing.
Well, what else does he have that plays to a national
Hollywood?
Audience?
Yeah, like
into Hollywood, right? Like he has to entertain everybody in the room, and he has to entertain everybody at home. You know.
Yeah, and it just, but like that's just the thing. And if what happened with Best Picture hadn't happened, this is forgotten in a week.
Oh yeah, this wouldn't have. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's forgotten in a day.
Right, the musical performances would be something that would pop up on YouTube from time to time, but other than that, this Oscars would just kind of be gone. Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, and now a word from our sponsors. I don't have a word from our sponsors. That's not true, but it's kind of like old school radio plays. Where they would do that.
Oh man, clunky. I really I have to say I've been watching a lot of Mr. Show lately. And they always used to talk about how the worst was trying to come up with transitions. And so, like, I get that. Doing this show, doing this sort of stuff, I get that. But you know what their go-to always was when they couldn't think of anything?
What was their go-to?
Pull out of a TV.
Yeah, exactly. We can't do that. We're audio.
We can't do that. We're audio,
So I went audio with my little thing, and then I'm like, but I don't have something prepared for this, right? Yeah, like, I don't know that if I'm like, we rejoin Mr. Jonathan as he confronts the temptress. So, honey, I think that you're the one who killed the governor. And then I'm like, is Sejohn going to talk as the temptress? This is a big gamble.
The answer is no, because this could go on for a while. And I really like the idea of having listeners. So, oh man, yeah. So because this week has just been so full of Oscar news and nonsense, and I wanted to turn my head away from Hollywood for just a little bit. So I've actually been hanging out and listening to some radio dramas. One specifically, but I've kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. But like, I grew up with radio plays. Like, Devin, you've actually worked in some, right?
Yes, I've worked on many a radio play. It's a lot of fun. I mean, that's how I was able to do all the fun little voices that I just did there. And also, they're perfect for travel. I love it. I love a good radio play for travel. I think it's why I've never understood the audiobook, but I feel like I understand why people would. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, for radio stuff for me is, on top of that, it's also very nostalgic for me, not just because they're old-timey radio shows, but because I actually grew up in a house where, like, we actually listened to radio dramas on a regular basis, like, on the radio, like, with my family.
Where else would you listen to the radio dramas?
Well, like, I feel like we grew up in a generation that didn't listen to the radio like that anymore. You know what I mean? But in my house, for some reason, it was the 1940s. So, like, we would decorate the Christmas tree and we would put stuff on. We would sit around the dinner table for like New Year's Eve and stuff like that, and we would be listening to something. You know, there would just always every now and then be the radio on, listening to stories, some old stuff, new stuff, all sorts of weird things. Yeah. So like they've always been a huge part of my life. I don't know. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, I wasn't. That was good what you just said. It is. It's something that's enjoyable. I love them for that. Like, and I really like. I mean, let's talk. Let's just give England the friggin' award, because the BBC and what the BBC does and they produce, that is what has always been my gold pinnacle for a good radio play. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
you bring up Mr. Show, so I imagine that you're at least tangentially familiar with the Mighty Boosh.
Oh yes, yeah, Mighty Boosh for
The-
sure. But all the Doctor Who stuff, the radio dramas for Doctor Who, which actually for a long time was what was keeping the Who fandom going. Because when the show ended, all throughout the '90s and before the new show came back, that was how they told new Who stories, was through radio.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just. Yeah, it is though. It is, and that's where they kept it alive. And it's sort of a lost art, in a lot of ways. But like if you still get to listen to one, they're awesome. I love the Mighty Boosh radio plays. Are some of my favorite things to listen to when I got nothing going on.
Those are really good. And if you are into the mood for some older stuff, like remember that there isn't anything before 1970 that really has a copyright on it. 1972 I think is when they started like really coming down on copyright laws. So like these radio dramas that we're talking about are pretty freely available all over the internet, YouTube included. Like you can just look stuff up and listen to it. Like you can get stuff like The Shadow, The Phantom, Charlie McCarthy, which I think is the greatest scam anybody's ever played in entertainment history. Like there's just a lot of
that.
really,
I'm giving you real points for Charlie
I'm just
McCarthy.
saying, the guy was a ventriloquist act on the radio. Are you kidding me? I wish I had thought of that. I am jealous and angry that I was not around at a time when I could get away with that kind of murder on the radio.
That's my biggest. That's my biggest problem with radio plays is that like also like listening not so much that like I feel like if I had lived in the 80s I probably could have gotten a one-hit wonder. I feel like I that's like my level of musicianship is like I could write a one-hit wonder. Like everybody went Chung tonight.
Britpop wonder. Yeah.
I feel like that's something I could have done. And I also feel that like if I were in a world where the radio play held its same prominence, that's something that I could just excel in.
I know, man. I love doing them too. In fact, actually, anybody that wants to go back to Super Kenshi Mobile Love Bus Cyber Squad Away, listen to the last handful of episodes. They actually have a radio drama element to them that Q and I had started when we were doing that. Like, I love doing this sort of stuff. So there's a couple that I go back to on a regular basis. Like I mentioned earlier, I love the old Shadow episodes and stuff like that. Lamont Cranston just was like, that shit's my jam.
You're really not supposed to say that Lamont Cranston is the Shadow. That's like the one rule about the Shadow. That's the don't talk about Fight Club of the Shadow. I'm just like, seriously, Lamont Cranston. I love Lamont Cranston. It's the best name ever.
Yeah. You just wanted to say it, so that's why you're calling me out on shit.
I'm calling you out on it because that in actuality, the Shadow is well-to-do playboy Lamont Cranston.
But the biggest one that I go back to, I'm ignoring you. The biggest one that I go back to on a regular basis, every year, in fact, is the Cinnamon Bear. It's this amazing radio drama that started in the 1930s. It actually started in the late 1930s, which leads me to believe that it is actually like a federally funded program. For anybody that doesn't know, at the end of the 30s, when everybody was in the shits because of the Great Depression and like the New Deal started and the WPA and all that stuff, they started an arts program called Federal Projects. And one of them was it was a federal theater project, but they had a whole section of it dedicated to radio stuff. So like, there's no way that in 1937, 1938, when this show, The Cinnamon Bear, came out, there's no way that it wasn't federally funded. So like all of these actors, there's like 5 of them, are like just on the government payroll, sitting around doing a Cinnamon Bear drama, and it is amazing. It's like Alice in Wonderland meets like Winnie the Pooh, like if you can think in that kind of area. And it's just this amazing story about these kids at Christmas are decorating a tree, and their star gets stolen by the patchwork dragon, and the Cinnamon Bear helps them chase him down to get it back, and they go on this crazy ass adventure for like 24 episodes to get their star back. And the idea was that the radio drama would start on Thanksgiving and it would end Christmas Eve. So you would listen 6 days a week to Cinnamon Bear until Christmas Eve, and then on that night, like Santa Claus shows up and saves the day. It's the Deus Ex Machina of the Cinnamon Bear is Santa Claus, and it's this gorgeous radio drama that I go back to every year.
I am very disappointed right now for three reasons. Reason number one, that this is the first time that I've heard about this. Because, let me tell you, stories where Santa Claus is not only a character but saves the day, some of my favorites. Some of my favorites. If I ever
Let me tell you about a little movie called Kiss Save Santa. The truth is, at the end, he saves them.
Don't encourage him. The second thing is, it's really just that I didn't know about it. The second thing is that, like, you talk about federally funded and stuff like that. It's the Smithsonian collection that has that re-released all the Cinnamon Bear stuff, right?
Oh, there it is, man. Yeah.
So, like, oh yeah, definitely government owned. And then they're like, we're gonna partner with Time Warner, and we're gonna release these on CD.
It was this great little company called Transco, a Trans-American radio company or something like that.
Oh
But
yeah,
Transco
that's definitely owned by
yeah.
by
And they
some
like
American shell corporation.
right. And so it's just, these two kids go on this crazy adventure, and this one dude plays like all of the side characters, and they're all these crazy, like one of them's like a pelican that drinks soda, the other one's the Patrick Dragon. There's a Wintergreen Witch is like one of the big baddies in it too. There's some dopey Keystone Cop character that's pretty good. Like there's a bunch of really good little characters, tropes from like the 1930s in it. The best part is, I can't believe I didn't talk about this yet, is that the Cinnamon Bear's name is Patty O'Sullivan.
Patty O'Sullivan, the Cinnamon Bear.
Oh my god. And it's this great, like, terrible Irish stereotype for the entire time. And they say in the first episode, they're like, hey, you have a green ribbon around your neck. Are you Irish? And he just goes, yeah, a little. So he's a little Irish, which means he has the thickest Irish accent, wears a green ribbon, and also, like, drinks and resorts to fisticuffs on a regular basis. Like,
all I can imagine is Andy Dufresne looking at the Cinnamon Bear and going, why do they call you Cinnamon Bear? And him going, oh, I think it's because I'm Irish.
oh man, yeah. Like, you guys should go on YouTube and check it out. That is my big recommendation. Is check this stuff out, because like it turns into a little bit of a ritual every year for me. Like when I'm doing stuff around Christmas, I'll put a couple of episodes of Cinnamon Bear on. It's not every day because they were meant to be listened to one a day, and they're only 11 minutes long, right? But you got an hour, you listen to 4 episodes, it's pretty good. But like it highlights something that I think is very formative for me. Like there's a ton of really formative elements in it, in the storytelling, but also on top of that, like knowing my entire life that these were just people in a room, like talking into microphones, it was amazing to me that like this was this amazing story that they were producing, and it was just 5 people in front of microphones. So like the big thing it did for me when I was a kid is it made me want to be a Foley artist. So like I started taking hammers and whacking everything around me to see what kind of noises I could make, right? I was the kid setting up like pots and pans in the kitchen and then playing them with spoons to see like what kind of sounds I could get.
I love it.
But I think a lot of that comes from this radio drama stuff, right? And so like now in the future, here I am doing like theater stuff, and like we're still into the sound thing, still into the story telling aspects. Like I love writing and all that sort of stuff too. And it really kind of comes down to me sitting around and listening to these plays when I was a kid, listening to these dramas. And so like going back to this one every year is kind of a nice little humbling reminder of like where you come from, right? I wonder if I got the Smithsonian collection. Did they come out on cassettes through them? Because that was like the thing that really kind of brought me back to the Cinnamon Bear was when I was like 15 or 16. My mom and dad gave me cassette tapes.
Well, I know that. I imagine it would be, because it seems like I think it was tape and CD. But I mean, like you look at any of the YouTube stuff, the comments are, I remember when these came out and my parents got me these for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then it became a ritual for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you're the guy who posted that, you're not the only one who has that same exact memory.
Well, and here's the thing is like it is on record as apparently being played every year somewhere in the world. It sometimes it's played all over the world. Sometimes it's just little countries here or there that are doing it. But generally, it was a huge deal when it first came out in the 30s and like in the 40s and stuff like that. But as radio died off, it kind of lost popularity, but apparently it's still popular enough that, like you're saying, it pops up from time to time for people. Like it comes out on CD and they sell enough to justify that, and that's awesome. I'm glad that's a thing,
Jeez.
I wonder if there's a support group out there.
Oh, I'm sure there's a subreddit, right?
Yeah, there's got to be.
Cinnamon Bearers. Geez, Sejohn, you turned this into an origin episode like real quick. I'm real proud of you for that. I'm not
man.
lying. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, like, and I'm it makes me now want to go and listen to more stuff. Like, there's stuff being produced now, like Night Vale and things like that are good examples. So like it's still a thing that people are interested in. There's a reason you and I are sitting here talking into these microphones right now. So like, I think that it'd be something really cool to get into at some point. Maybe that's something we can do.
Yeah, no, actually, I in the week off appeared on a podcast that is not the Say Report, Boards with Friends. Saw fit to have me on as a guest.
Cheater.
Why am I know. I'm sorry. If it's any consolation, I'm not a huge fan of board games. I saw that thing where you're like, we're one step closer to being Batman, and I'm like, it's a board game though. Why do I always have to play board games? Why does everybody want to play board games? Yeah, so, and being on that show, Zach, the purveyor of that particular program, I know that he has a very deep desire to get into radio plays too. So maybe this is the discussion that we need to maybe buckle down and do something like that.
Yeah.
Even if it's just an experiment and we do it one time.
No, but I feel like there's a place for this sort of stuff still. I think that I think there's more than enough people out there that are really interested in this form of entertainment. It's just something that, I don't know, kind of goes to the wayside. It's the same way that I feel about like vinyls and like the idea that like people still kind of are into it.
I would like to point out that you say that you all sat around the radio and everything like that, and that's something that you remember. I remember we had an old record player that was the centerpiece of our living room. This was before we got our big TV or anything like that. And we listened to records all the time.
Yeah.
And that is why, like, if you ever see me at karaoke, I'm singing along to literally every song. It's not just because that I've done nothing but radio for most of my adult jobs. I worked at a radio station for 4 years. I ran clubs. Like, that ties into it, but it's because I have a love of music that came from that. And the day that record player stopped working, like, I remember that day. I remember the day that the music died in the Decker household. And now I'm real sad. Like, I'm so...
Made yourself sad and made a dumb pun. How do you feel now, Devin? How do you feel now?
Actually, I feel pretty good about the dumb pun. That one kind of elevated my mood a little bit. But yeah, no, it's just something that like you do have those moments in your life that you can tie it all back to.
Yeah.
And like we got a CD player, but by then, like in the interim, TV sort of took the place of that. And I mean, all of the Deckers were gathered around the Squawk Box yesterday watching the Oscars. So I mean, like that is sort of our church.
Yeah, but it's like it's that thing where like coming together, right? Something that brings your family together that just kind of rings for you, that rings true for everybody. There's something that we all have that our families all used to do together, right? And so like for you, it's gathering around for TV or listening to music. For me, it was this radio stuff, and there's good food. That was another thing for my family for sure, right? And so like, I think that there's enough of us out there that have these shared experiences that's why we're into this stuff, right? And so, like, looking into doing something kind of nostalgic is key for me. Like, I think that would be a really cool project to pick up.
Yeah, and also it explains nostalgia, because nostalgia, it's not just, oh, I really love Street Sharks. It's that you remember that it brought everybody together. You remember when your mom gave you a Street Sharks figure instead of the Ninja Turtles figure you wanted, and then you're like, I guess I'm on board this train now.
Yeah. Well, and you remember having those stupid conversations with your friends about why the Street Sharks were better than the Ninja Turtles. Right? Like, you remember all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And like tapping into that stuff is always key for this entertainment thing that we do. So
yes,
like,
sir.
yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like we kind of brought the mood down a little bit. I'm feeling real somber right now. So do you have anything to add, Siege?
No, man. I think that this Oscars was interesting. This week has been really, I guess it was all kind of just build up to Sunday night, and then Sunday night kind of just pooped out for me. So like, this really hasn't been a week of doing much for me.
This was a huge week of doing stuff for me. I caught up with some old friends, but let's save that for next time on the Say Report.
Yeah.
And until then, I'm Devin Decker.
I'm Sejohn Sarowick.
And we'll hand it over to you, Will. Be well, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Sejohn Sarowick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.